We ranked all the commanders from Lost Caverns of Ixalan to see which ones were the best.
I'm Mia, and I like wearing fuzzy socks in the winter.
I'm BZ, and Amber's right over there. I promise. We're the Nitpicking Nerds. You can check out our sponsor, Cool Stuff Inc., by going to their website, coolstuffinc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. Never once have said their slogan before, but if you use code
NERDS
at checkout, you get 5% off your order. That's 5% of real money tax pay dollars.
If you also like saving 5% of real money tax pay dollars on your another type of order, you can use the code
NERDS
at checkout at dragonshield.com to save 5% off your order. The best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves. That's right. You are now saving money when you use our Dragon Shield link. I mean, that's overpowered, honestly. I don't know how they let us do that. We also sponsored by Moxfield. It's going to be an ad somewhere. You can try to guess where it is. You will fail. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today. So we're ranking all the commanders from this set, and we've brought to you the cream of the crop, the top 15 commanders in this set, based on our little sliding scale of power, fun, artwork, coolness, and uniqueness, all the factors that we think lead into making a great commander. Power is just the first category. This is not only a power list.
We have a master list in the description below of all of the commanders ranked of all time, but right now we're going to show you the top 15 of Lost Caverns of Ixalan. At number 15 of this set, we're showing you Indoraptor, the perfect hybrid, at 423. Indoraptor is one hybrid green, black, and red for a 3/1 that says Bloodthirst X. This creature enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the damage dealt to your opponents this turn. It has Menace and says, when it's dealt damage, choose an opponent at random. It deals damage equal to its power to that player unless they sacrifice a non-token creature. I like the fact that we're taking Jund into a different level where we're not sacking our own stuff this time, but making other people sack their things.
Yeah, I like the randomness aspect to it. This is like a really, also like Bloodthirst X. So if I deal 10 damage to each opponent or something, this thing just enters as a 33 power creature. Like, that's silly that doesn't scale with the mana you pay. It just scales with the damage you dealt. It's really, really cool. The problem is that trigger of when it's enraged, I could deal 30 to someone. But not really, because they're just going to sacrifice a non-token creature.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do like the fact that it does come down for only 3 mana. I'm not a big fan of the hybrid mana because it's not able to be put in green or black decks, with red, if you know what I'm saying. But it does really play into the flavor since it is the perfect hybrid.
Oh, are you talking about you're saying you can't play it in like a Gruul deck because it's a Jund commander?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, do you know anything about the Jurassic? Have you even seen a Jurassic Park movie? I don't know this.
I saw the first one.
The first, from the
OG, the
OG?
90s.
Okay,
yeah.
so you haven't seen the new reboot.
Chris Pratt? No.
Yeah, this is from that. This was like the villain of the second movie. It's like a hybrid between like a raptor and a bunch of different stuff. It really wasn't that interesting of a villain, so it doesn't get a ton of coolness points, but it's still like a laboratory grown dinosaur, so it gets something.
Did Magic actually make this cooler in game than it was in the movie?
Yes, actually not even close. It definitely did that. Let's go to the next one. Is also a villain from the Jurassic World series, Indominus Rex Alpha. This ranks in at 422nd on our master list. One Dimir hybrid, green for a 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, discard any number of creature cards. It enters with an ability counter on it for every ability you discarded. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each counter on it. And now we do have Amber here to prove she's okay. She's not dead. She's just a very sassy lady lately.
She really has. She's trying to be nice to Miso. And by that, I mean she's being really crabby.
Yeah, so we gave her a treat just to bring her up on the table for everyone. So drop a like in the chat for Amber. All right, so the Indominus Rex. That was a fleeting moment of Amber. This is the villain of the Jurassic World first movie. And it's sort of like, it's the best part of every dinosaur. It's like, it's got the camouflage of whatever, pick a dinosaur. It's got the spikes of another thing. It's got the brain of a raptor, because raptors are so cool that we have to put them all over the place.
Are raptors really the coolest? I thought, I don't know. I was always a big fan of the Stegosaurus.
You should see how many raptors are in the new series. It's basically all raptors. And the third Jurassic Park movie was already about raptors. So I don't know what they were doing. Indominus Rex is pretty cool, I guess. Total flavor win. I just how many ability keywords am I going to have in my hand to discard? I don't know. It's a cool design. It's just not the strongest, but even then, it's still probably better than Indoraptor.
I mean, we're not ranking based on just power.
That's super true.
Also, I like the fact that these are 422 and 423, with Indoraptor just being just a slight bit behind.
Just a slight bit. Jurassic World was definitely a better movie. It was more of a blockbuster type deal.
Wouldn't know.
Yeah, maybe we'll watch them. I don't know. But Indominus Rex got all the coolness. Indominus Rex is just kind of badass, even if the movies are a little whatever, or the logic is a little whatever. We're not watching Jurassic World for the logic. We're just watching for the really cool dinosaurs.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're just here to watch big stompy dinosaurs.
Yeah, so I like this keyword deck. It's kind of a fresh take on Catherall. It's probably not going to be super strong, though.
But right now we're moving up to Saheeli, the Sun's Brilliance, first human on the list at 307. Saheeli is a blue-red for a 2/2 that says, if you pay blue and red and tap her, create a token that's a copy of another target creature or artifact you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I think this is really cool that we're bringing Saheeli back. Plus, this would just be a perfect addition to the 99 in like a Brutaclad deck.
Yeah, it makes some tokens in like an interesting way. It's really cheap to play. It's really cheap to activate. So even if this dies once or twice, it's still recastable. This just feels like a pretty solid card. It's way less variance than Indoraptor. Indoraptor has got like really high highs, but I feel like Saheeli's pretty consistent overall, and I'm never going to be disappointed by it.
I'm not mad at those stats either. 2 mana for a 2/2 with a really cool ability for only 2 mana extra. That's like... I would play. That's really easy to play on curve, and I'm like really excited to play it in the 99 also.
Yeah, you probably already know who Saheeli is, but this is her first creature card ever. She is a former Planeswalker after the big de-sparking. She's a skilled artificer, has done countless things on countless planes, especially Kaladesh, where she's from, and she's a partner with Huatli. I thought, good for them making the Huatli Saheeli thing like center stage.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it, considering it was just kind of a highlight in the Pride Secret Lair, but now we get to see it like on a real like full set.
Yeah, we were hoping they weren't just kind of like checking off a box, and it doesn't seem like it. This is like a main part of the story. This is very public. It's not a private thing. Overall, seems like a really fun commander. We're going to move on to Aclazotz, the deepest betrayal at 292. 3 black for a 4/4 with flying and lifelink. When it attacks, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, you draw a card. Whenever an opponent discards a land, you get a 1/1 flying bat token. When it dies, you return it to the battlefield as a land that taps for a black, or you can pay 2 and a black and tap it to transform it back into the flying side, but only if a player has 1 or fewer cards in hand and only as a sorcery. So this could really do some damage in like a wheels deck or something, but I feel like because we're grading all these as commanders, hence the ranking every commander part of the title, it's like pretty hard to make everybody discard their hands. I mean, there's a few. There's like mass hand discard, or like Awaken the Erstwhile, and there's like Dark Deal, but there's not much else besides that. I don't know. It's going to be tough to get a lot of bats, and the attack trigger I feel like is not that useful.
Yeah, I was actually trying to think about whether I'd play this in my wheel type deck, and I'm not sure if I would. It would be really hard to transform back into its other side, considering that if you don't have any pure like discard outlets out, people in those wheel type decks, they might be able just to keep a hand of 1 or greater,
Yeah, I think if you play this card, I'm actually leaning towards now, you would just be in like the mono discard plan where like you play Bottomless Pit and like all of that stuff to just rip everybody's hands down to 0 and not make them redraw and just get a bunch of bats, and hopefully that's enough to close the game. That's not very fun, so this doesn't have the highest fun score, because outside of that deck, I don't think this card's very good. Aclazotz is a really cool character, though. He's like the bat god of Ixalan, and he like is the reason that vampires are there. He's the progenitor. He changed Veto. This is the basic plot of the whole set, by the way. He changed Veto and a bunch of other like, maybe like half a dozen, like 2 dozen vampires into bat demons, and they were like rampaging around, and they all eventually died. But Aclazotz is like at least the bad god. Nobody worships Aclazotz.
I like the fact that we are bringing in new villains and stuff, because all the Planeswalkers got disparked and stuff, and it's like, oh, we have to do something else now. Who should we bring in? How about Aclazotz?
And Vito, remember from like Court 21? Sure, let's just bring him into here.
I mean, he's powerful.
He's cool. I like it. I think it's a nice small stakes story after the whole world is ending, so that's good. That's very refreshing. Next up is Blue, Loyal Raptor. She's coming in at 262. 2 blue-green for a 5/4. She partners with Owen Grady, Raptor Trainer. We'll get to him, don't worry. For each kind of counter on blue, each other dinosaur you control enters the battlefield with a counter of that kind on it. So this is weird. I actually am not the biggest fan of this card. As you may or may not know, partner commanders get automatic +1 for power for us because it gives you an extra colors and an extra card in the command zone. I feel like it's pretty finicky to like play blue, then put counters on it, and it can't be a bunch of the same kind. If blue has 5 +1/+1 counters on her, the next dinosaur you play only enters with 1. So, like, it doesn't feel like there's that much to do. I mean, she works with Owen. Owen puts random types of counters on, but that's, like, even that's pretty slow.
Even though they are partners, I think it would be hard to put on a ton of counters onto blue and then trying to push those off later. Because if you try and bring in a ton of creatures at once, you can just say, okay, swords blue or something, and then nothing comes in with those extra counters. Plus, what type of counters outside of actually having Owen out can you really give if he's not on the field, right?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a ton of ones that I'm super interested in. I think this is a really fun commander. Like, don't get me wrong, this is cool. Like, trying to play blue and get 8 different counters on her so that whenever you play a green or red dinosaur, you get 8 different counters on it. It's like unstoppable. It's great. It's a cool like achievement to unlock. More fun than good for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about how I'd put counters on that isn't through Owen. And I'm like, ooh, well, I guess in blue there were shield counters in Streets of New Capenna, and this like that's a big reach, and this is a lot to do for something that's not that good in the long run.
At least the shield counters, that's a pretty good one, because at least that'll protect blue from like the first piece of spot removal. So we at least have that. Blue is like a super smart raptor trained by Owen, so that's classic partner thing. She's like, they're like, you know, inseparable except for the first movie, and they go on adventures and they can't die. So blue should have undying, or, you know, like if it dies, return it to your hand, because she's got serious plot armor.
I was gonna say, that's insane. Just undying. Just, yeah, okay, just
that's
whatever.
That's what it feels like sometimes. We get to go to another Jurassic Park beloved character. She partners with Owen Grady, Raptor trainer. We'll get to him, don't worry.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Ian Malcolm, chaotician at 250. Mia, what does it do?
Ian is a 2/2 for 1 blue and a red that says whenever a player draws their second card each turn, that player exiles the top of their library. During each player's turn, that player may cast a spell from among the cards they don't own exiled with him, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. I know I joke a lot about saying that BZ hates group hug a lot, and that, you know, he doesn't like having fun or people, you know, just having a good time, but I really would not like to see this card across the field, and I would want to snipe it as fast as possible. This says that I can't play my own stuff, but everyone else can if I draw a second card. That's really butts.
Yeah, so if you draw a second card, it puts it into the pool that for everybody else to play, and the same is true for everybody else. So what the Ian Malcolm player wants to do is just make everybody draw 2 cards a turn, every single turn, so that there's a huge stack of stuff, and just cause some chaos. I mean, this is a classic group hug or chaos type thing. Maybe this deck has a few like weird stacked pieces so that it's super like one-sided and only the Ian Malcolm person can get advantage out of it. That could be cool. At its face, very weak commander, but that's fine because it's supposed to be like a fun, goofy thing that like really shakes up the flow of the game, and it'll definitely do that.
Yeah, I'd be really happy if I could play this with like a Dranith Magistrate or something, but unfortunately, no.
Yeah, maybe something else like that.
I feel like a lot of people are going to be playing Hi Amber.
Oh, hi,
This,
Amber.
though, because of like Jeff Goldblum being on the card.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Goldblum's a complete meme. He basically just plays himself in these movies. He makes a bunch of weird noises. You can't not love Ian Malcolm in these movies. Let's keep climbing. This is probably the weirdest, like most out there design in the whole set. This is Tetsun Gnome Champion. Blue, red, white for a 2/2. When it or another double-faced artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you mill 3, and you can put an artifact from among those milled into your hand, and it crafts with 6 artifacts for 4 mana. And it turns into a 6/6 Vigilance Trample. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, transform up to 1 other target double-faced artifact you control, and create 2 1/1 gnomes. Now, as Amber gets her scratchies, well-deserved scratchies, this is, I gotta tell you about this commander, it's just completely ridiculous, transforming double-faced artifacts. To me, it kind of reads like an uncard, but it's totally legal. And I like the fact that it's kind of deceptively strong, because when it enters the battlefield, it just basically draws you a card. You just get to mill 3 and then get something back.
I can actually see this becoming more competitive as time goes on, considering I think we're going to be seeing more double-faced artifacts in the near future.
I mean, now they have transform artifacts at uncommon, and that was like really cool for a rare back in the last Ixalan set. So, you know, next time we go to Ixalan, there'll be 60-word transforming artifacts at common, I'm sure. And Tetsun only gets better as time goes on. I'm thinking of Thematic Compass. I'm thinking of all the cool artifacts. I want to almost see what this deck looks like. You know, I'm probably not going to build it, but it looks so fun. It's like undeniably fun.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. But speaking of lore, isn't it kind of weird? I think we were talking about this on stream, that gnomes and golems?
Yeah.
Are the 2 types that are pretty interchangeable.
There's golems in this set and there's gnomes, and I don't know what the difference is when there's like pretty beefy gnomes. Like there's like I think there's a dinosaur gnome, but I'm not sure. Anyway, Tetsun looks super cool. Can you think of any transform artifacts off the top of your head?
I mean, there's the door. The Great Door.
The Great Door, yep, that's going to be a good one. I think there's tons of like room to make a really wacky deck, and I would love to see a Tetsun deck in action.
But speaking of cool new commanders, if you actually want to build one, we're going to go to moxfield.com, the best place online to build a deck. Even Amber thinks so. I mean, she's getting the scratches, sponsored by Moxfield, of
Yeah,
course.
Amber's scratches are indeed sponsored by Moxfield, and these are the first ones to ever be sponsored, so I'm sure Amber is really stoked about it. We're super happy about it. You at home weren't even expecting anything close to this, and I think you can go to Moxfield to make sure your decks are built better, faster, in less time, more efficiently, cheaper, and some other positive adjectives. So you got to get over to Moxfield right now. But for now, how about O'Hare Chasm, Mia? The Deepest Growth, ranked 233. What does that card even do?
O'Hare Chasm, Deepest Growth, is a 6/5 for 3 green that says it has trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you reveal that many cards from the top of your library. You can put a creature card and / or a land card from among them onto the battlefield, but the rest on the bottom in a random order. When it dies, return to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. The back is a land called Temple of Cultivation that says you can tap it to add a green, or pay 2 and a green and tap it and transform it. You can only activate it, though, if you control 10 or more permanents and only as a sorcery. Now that was a lot of words to put on a card, but basically you get a beefy creature and you can also transform it to a land, and if you have a bunch of stuff on the battlefield, you just transform it right back into a creature. Sorcery speed only, though, as most of these lands are, I think.
Yeah, the black one, Aclazotz, is kind of tough to bring back, but the rest of them can come back pretty easily, so they're going to be like kind of annoying in the command zone. You're going to play them once, and especially if you have sack outlets, you're never going to have to cast them again. You can just rely on the land side just flipping back into the creature at some point. O'Hare Chasm's like one of the weakest ones. It's like a lot of work, I think, to connect for enough damage to reveal a creature that is very big. But it's certainly like a big stompy deck. This is a classic green, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact is, unlike an MDFC, if you blink this one, it'll come back as the creature, right?
If it's on the land side and you blink the land somehow, you do get the creature back. So that could be something to try with these cards.
Could be some good tech.
O'Hare Chasm is the god of cultivation. She's pretty silent and kind of less well known than the others. So I don't know if she got some kind of like short end of some Ixalan stick, but she's still cool. You know, they need her still, and they're like, you know what? When we remember that you exist, you're pretty cool.
I feel like every god type like realm, one person gets the short end of the stick. But Clavileño is next on our list at 230. Clavileño, first of the Blessed, is a 2/2 for 1 white and black that says, whenever you attack, target attacking vampire that isn't a demon becomes a demon in addition to its other types. It gains, when this creature dies, draw a card and create a tapped 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. Clavileño is actually the vampire face commander of the precons that we have here, and I think he's really cool. Adding a little bit of card draw to your Vampires Matters decks, I'm really excited for. I'm going to be putting this in Edgar and putting it in the 99 so I can turn those tokens into card draw engines.
Yeah, this card is sneaky good. You're just going to play all the 1 and the 2 mana vampires that you possibly can, because it says when you attack. It doesn't say when he attacks, so you just need to attack on turn 3 after you play this with your 1 or 2 drop to get the trigger, get an extra card out of it when you sacrifice it. When the board wipe comes around, all these things turn into 4/3s, and all of a sudden it's like you didn't even wipe the board. Super cool. And even if you want, you could just turn sack the tokens to get, or sack the creatures to get vampire tokens, the bat things, to just sack them again for something else later on. Like, Clavileño is really good, and it seems really fun too.
I mean, it's a big value engine.
Yeah, the art is super sick. This was apparently the first one of Vito's squadron to get transformed. Vito is the leader, but this is one of the other, like, henchmen, I guess. He transformed into the Demon Bat by Aclazotz, like I said. He killed Inti, who's not on this list because that card is terrible, but Inti's dead, and Inti is Huatli's cousin. You don't kill Huatli's cousin without getting killed by Caparakti, who's also not on this list, as retaliation.
You don't kill main character's side character 1 without getting revenge by main character's side character 2, you know?
You said it, and we're going to go on to the next commander, which is Gulta, Stampede Tyrant, ranked 220. It's 5 green for a 12/12 trampler that says when it enters the battlefield, you just vomit all your creatures out onto the battlefield from your hand. And obviously this card is strong. This is like the biggest, stompiest green stompy creature that's ever stompied from the command zone.
I mean, it's so hyped, and the fact is, it's not even when you cast it, it's when it enters the battlefield. You draw a bunch of cards, you put them down when you play, or you've managed to blink it somehow, you do it again. Like,
yeah, you get all of your, like, Tribute to the World Tree, Garrick's Uprising, Elemental Bond, Guardian Project, so that when you poop all these creatures out, they just fill your hand back up so that you're ready to cast Gulta again and you have more mana ramp.
This, like, last march of the Ents, Savala decks, like, I'm so excited for this.
It's strong, the art's great. I don't know how many versions of Gulta with how many different versions of art of Gulta we need, but Wizards seems to think the answer is 50 for all of them.
Gulta is just, like, generically good, though.
Every version of Gulta that's come out has been pretty sweet, so Gulta players unite.
But we're actually going to be moving from the dinosaur to the dinosaur scientists with Ellie and Alan paleontologists at 174. Ellie and Alan are 2 green, white, and blue for a 2/5 that when you tap them and you exile a creature card from your graveyard, you discover X, where X is the mana value of the exiled card. You can only do this at sorcery speed, though. I really like the fact that we are getting a fresh new look at Cascade with Discover. I think that it's really fun, and that even though this is only at sorcery speed, you can get a lot of good triggers off of it.
I think this card is really strong. It only wants you to tap it and exile something. So as long as you're filling up your graveyard, which is apparently like a offshoot of like a Bant deck, because a couple commanders in Bant that want to do this now. You fill up your graveyard, and then you just exile like, a Galta or something. It's got 12 mana value, and then you just discover 12 and just get a free spell. What I obviously really, really, really want to do with this is just untap it like a bajillion times and use like, Pemin's Aura and Freed from the Real to just destroy everyone. I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to beat that when you get this combo going.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's a lot of potential with this, so long as you can keep your graveyard filled.
Yeah, Ellie and Alan are like the two of the main characters from the first movie. They're super cool. They brought them back for the 6th movie, and I guess they were okay in that. But they're just like charming, cool heroes. I got nothing against them. You can't really hate on Ellie and Alan.
I didn't know there were 6 movies.
There are 6 movies. But we're going to transition over to Huatli, who I mentioned earlier. Did you know that her cousin is dead? This is the Poet of Unity. She is ranked 164th. And there's at least 150 words on this, so buckle up. It's 2 and a green for a 2/3. When she enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. You can pay 5 mana to transform her, and then activate only as a sorcery. She turns into a saga with 4 chapters. Chapter 1, create 2 3/3 dinosaurs. Chapter 2, the saga gains creatures you control have tap for red, green, or white. Chapter 3, search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Chapter 4, dinosaurs you control gain double strike and trample until end of turn. Quick shout out to Amber, though, for overcoming her fear of this recording studio. She has been a complete diva, like nothing ever happened. So good job to Amber. But Huatli, oh my god, there's so many words. This is, of course, a really cool dinosaur commander. I think there's not a lot of strength. The first half of this card, where you kind of have to pay 8 mana before you get anything, is like Borderland Ranger. And if you get instant speed removed in response to that ability, oh my god, you feel horrible. Assuming it flips, you get your value, though.
Yeah, it's like, that's going to be a big blowout if you're paying into that mana just to get it removed. However, this is very cool. It's not really getting a ton of points in this regard to power, because there are a lot of steps. That's a lot of turns if you don't have proliferate synergies. But it is really, really cool, and I am enjoying to see more creatures with sagas on the back of them that are actually playable in the command zone.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Praetors, actually, now that I think about it, because they had like a very reasonable activation, turn into a saga, except this one does not turn back. So I think once Huatli's saga finishes, she's dead, and you got to put her in the command zone, or find a way to flicker her or something, start the value train all over again. Huatli's super cool. Obviously, uniqueness maximum, fun maximum, dinosaur synergy maximum. Oh, and if you're wondering, Huatli is a former planeswalker as well. She's a warrior poet. She's like a super renowned fighter on Ixalan, and she's partnered to Saheeli, which you already knew because I mentioned that earlier.
She's definitely cool, but I am like laughing a little bit on the inside, considering that she doesn't even turn back, so it's arguably like the Praetors are dead and worse than her, or better than her, To
be fair, the Praetors are stronger than Huatli, and I think this whole desparking thing is like the best thing to ever happen to her, because she was totally a throwaway planeswalker, and I care way more about the creature version.
Yeah, absolutely, though she did have that really cool stained glass art. But moving up on the list is O'Hare Pakpatik, Deepest Epoch at 78. Mr. Pakpatik is a 4/3 for 2 blue that says it has flying, and whenever you cast an instant spell from your hand, it gains a rebound. When it dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control with 3 time counters on it. It comes back as Temple of Cyclical Time that says you can tap it for blue and remove a time counter on it, and you can pay 2 and a blue and tap it to transform it. Activate it only if it has no time counters on it and only as a sorcery. I like the fact that even though you do take time counters off every single time, it doesn't force transform, like how you can choose to transform arithmeses and stuff, so people don't really know exactly when you're going to transform it, so it's not susceptible to creature removal.
Yeah, this card's really strong. Giving instants, it is only instants, not sorceries. Giving instants rebound is just like super powerful. There's like 7 mana versions of cards that I never want to play, like Cast Through Time, because it's so expensive to set up. But this is your commander. This is a creature. It's 4 mana, and you can just start building up cantrips and value engines and removal spells over time, and then just copy them on the next turn. Even if this creature dies, the rebound still triggers on your next upkeep. The only thing about this one is it's really hard to transform back. It enters tapped, and then you got to remove 3 time counters, and then you got to transform. It's like so many turns.
I think it's a little bit rough too, because if someone is like has proliferate strategies, for instance, you're like, oh, I'll choose that too. Like, I know I've played Atraxa against his Cascade deck that is Teamer, and he does have Arithmethes in there. So I go, okay, I'll keep upping those time counters real quick.
Yeah, this card, the only thing is that you are in blue now, so I would actually probably recommend playing Ghostly Flicker in this deck, because it's an instant, so it rebounds, and then once this thing transforms, you could just get it right back by flickering a land. That's actually really cool. So there's ways to get around it, unlike the other colors who like can't flicker lands as well. White does have Ruin Ghost, but Ocher Pakpatik is the second like in command of the Deep Gods. There's only 4, so that's not that impressive. Is the lover is dating Ocher Tak, who we'll get to in just a hot second. But this is based on Quetzalcoatl, I think, is like one of the only. Yeah, that one. It's like that's the Magic's version of that.
I don't know that much about mythology. I did watch that dragon maid show. I think there was a dragon based on that too.
What are you talking about?
Don't worry about it. It's an anime. Anime fans, please understand. Anyways, there's another Oher right on this list. It's Oher
Ashnil, Deepest Might. I'll take over for you. It is 67th overall, which is pretty high. 2 red for a 4/4 god with trample. If a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than Oher Ashnil's power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to his power instead. And when he dies, like the rest of the gods, he comes back tapped and transformed as a land. Taps for red, and you can pay 2 in a red and tap it to transform it. Activate only if red sources you control dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn, and only as a sorcery. So this card's pretty savage because all of those little pingers, like your Gutter Snipes and your Thermo Alchemists, now ping for 4 every time they do it. And obviously the more reusable ones are like the sickest ones. Even one of my old favorites, End the Festivities, comes back to this deck. This deck seems like if you don't kill Oher Ashnil, you will die.
I think this is very dangerous, especially when you do start putting counters on him and when you start having the damage doublers and triplers and stuff.
My god, this deck seems really good. This is one of the stronger versions of this effect that I've seen. And it's not going to look the same, I think, as like a Torbrand deck or some of those other ones. You know, Emodane is still going to look different than that, which is cool. So Oher Ashnil's got a lot going for him. Ashnil, he took out Aklazatz's eye and imprisoned him. So apparently the only one paying any attention was the red god. I think this is the brother of the white god, who again, we'll get to very shortly, actually, and just kind of got a dinosaur arm. I don't know why, but I think it's based on one of the other gods.
I think out of all the gods, this one is the one that I would be the most excited to build.
It's a fresh new take on Mono Red Burn, and if you let them build up enough mana or you let them transform this on a key turn, you're just going to die.
This is the most explosive card of the set, but absolutely only number 2, because the number 1 we have right now is Oher Tak, Deepest Foundation at 38, the white god we keep talking about. Oher Tak is a 4 white for a 6/6 Vigi that says, if one or more creature tokens would be created under your control, 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. When it dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. It transforms into Temple of Civilization, a land that says you could tap it to add white or 2 and a white and tap it and transform it. You can only activate if you've attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn and only as a sorcery. Triple the tokens is an insane amount of tokens. Not that white needed any help making tokens to begin with.
Yeah, it is only creature tokens, so don't think you can double or triple treasures and stuff. That's not going to happen, but like, really, you don't need to do a ton of anything. Even just to secure the wastes or call the Coppercoats with this thing out, it's game over. Make sure you stack like a bunch of overruns in your deck because you're going to have the creatures, no problem. Now you just need to figure out a way to pump them, even for like just 2 or 3 to close out the game. I'm sure Chroma's Will is like a shoe-in for this deck, and this is, I think, easily a 7. One of the strongest commanders from the set, for sure.
I didn't think that white weenie decks needed any more help, considering they just got Moonshaker Cavalry prior and a reprint of Elshnorn a couple sets ago. But here we are, just another piece to that.
That's true, and Mondrak, the Glory Dominus to double tokens. So just start, 6xing your tokens, no problem. This is the Chief Deep God. There really wasn't much to say, so I'm guessing Oher Tak wasn't really in the story. It was all about Aklazatz and Ashnil, and maybe a little bit of Pakpatik in there, but not Oher Tak and not the other one that everybody forgets about, whose name I forget. So sorry, Green God. But Oher Tak is like, honestly, it's like it's like Heliod or Oketra. It's the same exact values, civilization and structure and order and white stuff, and like the flavor of this card did not carry it that far, even though all the gods are 10 out of 10s for coolness. It's the power of, oh my god, triple tokens.
Yeah, that power is insane. And I'm happy that we're getting new looks at gods, considering we look at like Perforos and Heliod and stuff a lot. And those are cool, but we need more gods. It's fun.
They have no shortage of cool ways to make the gods hard to kill, and I'm definitely here for it. So if you're here for the next episode of Ranking Every Commander, just check it out right here and see commanders we've ranked in the past. As Amber says, a farewell to you. Mia, what is our tip of the day?
Kiss your cats on the head and tell them you love them. Hi, Amber.